something from somebody we're getting to know. Michael Cooper is in the studio. He is an attorney, but I don't think we're going to talk about the law. Instead, we're going to talk about the more artistic side of Michael Cooper. He is a talented painter of words. His book is called Meandering Through the Verbal World, Memories, Poems, Feelings, Words, Thoughts, and Songs. And Michael Cooper is here right in the studio. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me back again.
Nice to get to meet you and to know you. I'm a big fan of words. I love words. I just... And everybody's so different with words. It's amazing that, you know, our vocabulary is more or less the same. But at the same time, the way you use words is so different from anybody else.
What do they say? That the average person has a vocabulary of something like 2,500 words?
Is that all I have? Just I probably have 20. 25.
Yeah, really. And some of us are short on that a little bit. But you know, you start using words, and then you start using them in different contexts and different dimensions, and you start learning different words, and you start rhyming words, and you start creating rhythms with words, and it brings out a whole new side to vocabulary.
There was a piece we had last week or 2 weeks ago, words and their old meanings, and the word nice used to mean foolish. So if you were to read an old poem, for example, and, oh, the boy was nice, you would say, oh, that's nice, he was nice. But apparently the boy was foolish. Yeah, so it is interesting how words change. And even across the ocean. I mean, you'll have different... in England, they speak the same language, but a word might mean something totally different to them.
Absolutely. You know, I'm writing a book right now. In fact, I just finished the first draft of it, and part of it I was writing about the words caring, sympathy, and empathy. Okay, 3 words that sort of mean the same thing.
Yeah.
You know that caring, the word caring has been to care has been in the English language for over 1,000 years. The word sympathy has been in the English language for only about 400 or 500 years. The word empathy has been in the English language only about 100 years. So the question is,
That's interesting.
Does that mean we're moving towards a more civilized connection?
Yeah. So when you're writing poetry, let me ask you this. When you're writing poetry, are you writing it to be a song, or are you conscious of the fact that you're writing a lyric to a song as opposed to a poem?
It depends on where I write it.
Do you hear a melody in your head when you're writing a song?
I do, and I have to say that unfortunately, since I am not particularly musically talented, the melodies are mostly the same.
Okay.
But I do. I hear melodies, and I try to create different beats. But a lot of it depends. I write a lot of songs in the morning when I'm, quite frankly, in the bathroom getting ready to go to work. I love writing songs. Those are more poems at that time.
Okay.
I'm a bicycle rider. When I'm out riding my bicycle and putting in the miles, I tend to write more songs at that time.
And how are you writing and writing at the same time?
The writing is easy. It's the memory that's the hard part.
Okay, so you're making things up, in other words, as you
go.
Okay.
And then the key is trying to remember all the verses in order by the time you get back home an hour and a half, 2 hours later.
Oh, wow.
And so you have to keep singing them over and over and over in your head. So that when you get home, I run inside and I quickly write them down.
Oh, wow.
You should get one of those recorder things and put it in your pocket and just turn it on.
I tried that.
Oh.
I ended up almost crashing.
Oh.
No! Oh, that's not good.
I gave up on that.
So do you have any lyricists that you've admired over the years, maybe that even influenced you?
I like rock and roll. I love, for example, I love the Rolling Stones back in their heyday. I loved the lyrics that they did.
And Keith Richards was greatly responsible for a lot of that.
He was, yes. Keith and Mick and the Glitter Twins, as they called themselves. And I loved the lyrics way back when they were like, Sticky Fingers era, that type of era.
So if you were into that, were you into the vast difference in lyrical content of the 3 Beatles that wrote lyrics, the 3 Beatles that wrote songs? Well, Ringo wrote songs, but I mean, John was so different lyrically from Paul, and George was very lyrically different as well. The three that mostly wrote.
They were. I'm going to make a confession. I was never a big Beatles fan.
Okay, so I won't go there. What about
But
Bernie?
I did like their songs, and I did like the songs. They could go from incredibly serious to whimsical. For example, you listen to the White Album, and they would go from Rocky Raccoon into some of the most intense songs, just very quickly.
Well, and okay. And so without focusing on the Beatles, since you weren't into them, let's see.
He knows the White Album, though.
I know the Beatles.
Oh, the White Album. Okay. Paul Simon, Randy Newman. Those are two lyricists. Leonard Cohen to me is a great lyricist. Bernie Taupin. Have I mentioned Bernie yet?
No. I love Bernie Taupin when he was with Elton John writing the lyrics. I always thought that would be the great. He used to, from what I understand, he used to live up in Canada, and he would just email the lyrics to Elton John, or not. Back then you didn't email. Back then you mailed
Just
them.
mailed them, yeah.
And Elton John would then write the tune.
But did it have to make sense to you? Oh, okay, for example, do you remember Al Stewart, The Year of the Cat?
Yes.
I can recite this to you. On the morning of a Bogart movie, in a country where they turn back time, he goes strolling through the crowd like Peter Lorre, contemplating a crime. And it goes like, hello? It never really tells a story. It's just like a bunch of words. Like
Bob Dylan did a lot of that. Early Bob Dylan was all what I call word pictures.
Yes.
They're creating images in your mind with their words. You think of the song, one of my absolute favorites, Whiter Shade of Pale.
Oh, I love that song.
And you listen to those words, they don't really make a whole lot of sense. But what a beautiful song and what a beautiful image it creates.
You Can Call Me Al. This is a good one from Paul Simon.
Okay.
You Can Call Me Al. What is that? A man walks in. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a goofy song.
All right. So the reason that those types of songs are brought up into this conversation is, do you like to write like that, like where we'll be reading or listening to, and in some ways the melody, like Paul Simon one time said, the melody is more important. The words are just there, but at the same time, he was a great lyricist.
And if you had to draw a line and say, okay, balance the two, melody versus lyrics, the melody is always going to balance a little heavier. It's going to be a little stronger, because the melody is what sells a song, because it is a song. However, a melody can carry bad lyrics. Great lyrics cannot carry a bad melody. But to answer your first question, I look at music. There's two. You think of the Rolling Stones, who I mentioned. They tell stories. Their songs pretty much all tell stories. You think of the ones like The Year of the Cat. You think of early Bob Dylan. They do word pictures, and they are creating these beautiful songs, and they're creating these great images in your mind. One's doing it more in a linear concept, the Rolling Stones. This is a story, where others are doing it from more of a imagination, disjointed but still making sense in the back of your mind. Yeah. I can't do that. I have to tell a story.
You have to tell a story. So Rob and I perform, so we know some of the songs from the 40s quite a bit, and a lot of those have these beautiful, almost like Hallmark greeting card kind of a way of fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you when you're young at heart. It's like, okay, that all makes sense, doesn't it?
Or strangers in the night exchanging glances, lovers at first sight.
Or the Hal David lyrics from the work he did with Burt Bacharach, which is probably the only Hal David stuff I know.
Right. But as you got particularly into the 60s, the more psychedelic era in particular, the lyrics started getting a little bit farther out there.
Yeah.
I think they were designed for a particular purpose.
Yeah, yellow matter custard dripping from a dead dog's eye.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Why is that so? Okay.
But if you're in a certain state of mind, which a lot of people were in the 60s, it made plenty of sense.
All right, your book is called Meandering Through the Verbal World, Memories, Poems, Feelings. Can I read one that I think we can all relate to?
All right.
Do you mind?
No.
It's called None of My Business. I like this one. You told me that you loved me, that you really cared, pretended that the moments were so special that we shared. Then you disappeared and went on your own way. But now you keep on calling me each and every day. It's none of my business how you live. It's none of my business who you're with. It's none of my business. You don't matter anymore. It's none of my business since you walked out my door. I was so depressed and lonely, and I begged you to come home. I couldn't stand the misery of being all alone. Now I've healed. I'm over you. But you just won't let go. there's nothing you can say that I really want to know. It's none of my business how you live. It's none of my business who you're with. It's none of my business you don't matter anymore. It's none of my business since you walked out my door. Don't tell me about your job or your lovers or your friends. You've got so many problems. It seems they never end. You decided you don't love me. Let's forgive and let's forget. The forgiving part was easy, but you can't forget me yet. It's none of my business what's going on. It's none of my business now that you're gone. It's none of my business, so get off my phone. It's none of my business. Please leave me alone. That's a powerful poem or a song. That's a song, isn't it?
That's a song.
That's a song.
Powerful.
Yeah,
And it's-
because of the refrain. You can almost hear that refrain as a melody already.
It is, and it actually, to me, it fits into a specific type of tune very easily.
Did you send this to her, whoever she is? That's a no. I can see it in the face. Nope, I sure didn't. Hope she's not listening is what you're saying.
You know, it's interesting because some people write songs. Taylor Swift is a big one that comes to mind, who writes songs out of what has happened to her.
Yes.
At least she did at
Yes,
the very
yes.
beginning. I write songs out of passages. I think up a passage. I'll think up like, it's none of my business. And then I'll think, okay, I can make a song out of that. And I think up terms, or I'll hear somebody say something, and I'll go, oh, that's a great song. And then I sit down and write the song. And I can't say that I always draw on my own experiences, but obviously we all have experiences, and we all have friends who've had experiences, and so you put it all together. But most of my songs are written from coming up with a concept and then building the song around it. And I gotta tell you, I don't remember how I got that song.
It's
That was one of my-
marvelous.
one of my
I
first
really love
ones.
that one.
Really, but how many people can relate to that? How many people? Oh
yeah.
Because she just didn't leave you. She wanted to come back too, didn't she?
She just didn't want to let go. She wanted to be missed. That's what it was. She wanted to know she was missed. She wanted to know that she mattered enough in your life that you still cared.
People don't, though.
Well, they do
You
for
can
a
be
short
there for
period of time.
decades, and then they just throw you away.
The break has passed, so let's take it now instead of not doing it at all. Okay, on the phone in the studio, Michael J. Cooper. His book is called "Meandering Through the Verbal World." This is not your only book, by the way. Robert told me we can't talk about the other one, so I don't have it. Otherwise, I'd be distracted. And when we come back, we'll continue talking. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For Monday, a nice day with sunshine and some clouds and a high of 75 to 79. Monday night will be clear to partly cloudy with lows ranging from the low 50s in a few inland spots to about 60 along the coast. Tuesday, mostly sunny and gorgeous, high 77 to 81. Wednesday, breezy and warm with sunshine and some clouds, high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.
There's a storm coming. We may not know its path, but your independent auto owner's insurance agent knows. No matter what happens, we'll be there when you need us most. Strong through every storm. That's how it's been for our first 100 years, and how it will be for generations to come.
Call George Mangan Insurance in Ocala today, 352-732-3191.
Hi, this is Vanessa Lane Jennings with the Jennings Law Firm, located here in beautiful Ocala. Join me every single Friday at 10:30 for Legal Lane. We'll be discussing various legal topics such as family law, criminal law, contracts, and much more. So this is your chance to call in with your legal questions and have them answered. That's every Friday, 10:30, right here, WOCA The Source.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your mobile Verizon rep. But not just here, I'll deliver the phone to you in your home. While I'm there, I'll only sell you what you need and I'll personalize it to you. Want to have me get you connected? Then call me at 352-528-0020. I even offer unlimited home phone service for just $20 per month. Just call me, your mobile Verizon rep, at 352-528-0020.
All right. You know, it's one of the topics I really love. I don't know how many people know that about Robert and I, but songwriting is really, it's a fun, it's an exciting thing. It's often an underappreciated thing. And so we're kind of swapping notes here. Michael Cooper in the studio. But you're an attorney by trade. So have you ever made any money with the songs?
No,
No?
I'm not. I've written 7 books, and so far, they're just 7 books I've written.
Are they all poetry and songs, or?
No. I wrote it. The first thing I wrote was a children's book, "The Fish That Made a Wish," with Mary Verando doing the artwork, and we did sell a few of those. We actually sold quite a few of those. That was a beautiful, beautiful book, mostly because of her artwork. But it was a great poem for children, for about 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. And then since then, I've written 1 book of poetry and 5 novels.
Oh, wow.
And at this point, I have 4 books that I'm working on. 2 that are completed, a 2nd book of poetry, and 1 that's a historical novel I'm just sort of touching.
Wow.
That'll be interesting. Historical novel.
We work with so many authors and publicists all over the country. We should introduce you to some of those folks.
I would love to.
So let me you have a poem you want to read or a song?
I'm going to read a poem, and I'm going to sort of cut it short. It's a little bit long. But the reason I want to read this poem, first of all, it's depressing. But I wrote this when I was, I think, 15 years old.
Oh,
this was
wow.
one of my, in high school, poems.
What's it called?
It's called Death a la Poe. And it goes like this. A stealthy pad of cat-like feet comes creeping round my door, and though it's come to me before, I lock and bolt and bar the door, as if I somehow might not meet what treads outside on cat-like feet. Repeatedly it haunts my night, now softly, hear the tread that fills my soul with founded dread, but always leaves retreating tread. Now I know with numbing fright, it will not wait another night. I cling tenaciously to life mid howling of the wind, as if I could with hope rescind what rides the cold and biting wind. But 'tis for naught is all my strife, for gone from me, gone is my life.
Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
You can hear the
Wow.
you can hear the sadness. You can hear almost you can hear the Poe part of that. So,
Yeah, and I actually left out 2 verses just to,
Oh,
but
shorten it up.
shorten it up. But I was like, I read this, I pulled this out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago from this cache of old stuff I have, and I read it and I went, what was I thinking?
Yeah, but you know what's interesting to me? I think music, and that's the lyrical part of music too, evolves because we have young people. I think if old people just kept writing music and young people were never allowed, it would be stagnant. We would have this horrible music.
It's goes into right brain versus left brain. Music is a right brain based, which is more the creativity, novelty side of your brain. Left brain is more mathematical. Your right brain is obviously, because the right brain is the focus of the new, it's obviously stronger when you're young, because everything's new and everything is something that brings an additional dimension to your life.
and there's no clutter.
There's no clutter. And actually, when you get into your 30s, the right brain starts flipping over to the left brain, and the right brain actually tends to atrophy. And that's why, as you say, the youth is so important, because they are still really focused on that right brain dimension, and they can create things that, as we get older, simply just can't create. Which is one reason why I write, is simply to exercise, I hope, that right side of my brain.
Yeah, right. I think you're right. I think that does do that. Yeah. So how do you challenge yourself? What do you do to challenge yourself when it comes to songwriting and poetry writing? How do you climb a steeper mountain? How do you do that?
What I really need to do is get into more, as we were talking about earlier, the imagery poems. The poetry of the last 30 or 40, 50 years, the poets laureate of the United States, and most of the accepted poetry doesn't rhyme. It is essentially stories or imagery that's told in a narrative form, but in a certain particular cadence, but it doesn't rhyme.
And do you like that?
I'm not a big fan of it.
Me either. You know what it's like for me? It's like going into an art museum and seeing paint thrown on a wall, and everybody's bragging about it. And then you go to this other picture nobody seems to care about, and it's like, well, that's awesome. And it looks like something.
I agree. The concern I have with the narrative poetry that's big today is it is so uniquely personal. If someone is writing about an experience they had in a hotel room looking out on the street and something occurred, it's very, very hard to make that into a universal concept that can express itself to a number of different people. When you write poems with rhyme, with rhythm, even if they don't get the message entirely, the rhythm itself will speak to them sometimes.
Right.
The rhymes pattern will speak to them. And so you have a little bit more connection. The other reason I like rhyming is rhyming and rhythm is left brain because it's more of a mathematical concept, whereas the imagery that you're creating with that is right brain, so it kind of brings the whole concept around. But to challenge myself, I probably need to get away from the strict structure that I've more or less stuck with over my writing career.
That would be form. What about content? What kind of content challenges you?
Most of my content is
anger,
alcohol, sex,
There you go.
and frustration.
Well, that's like the big three of a person's life.
One causes the other, I think.
Frustration.
Yes. But I do write a lot, and I write some very whimsical type songs, and I write some sort of cute songs. What they called when I went to Nashville to a songwriting convention, which was an absolute thrill, and one of them guys looked at my song and said, "Well, that's a nice novelty song." And
Don't you hate that?
I know, I couldn't tell. He goes, "Oh, no, that's not an insult. Novelty songs are great." I mean, who was the one that did Little Red Cup that was such a big hit, the country song?
I don't know, but what was the title of yours that he said was a novelty song?
It was called A Sad Country Song. And what it was about someone who's a singer who's getting up and she's supposed to be singing a rocker, and instead she sings, her heart's broken, so she sings a sad country song. And what I did was I used actual songs, sad country song titles in my lyrics.
Okay.
And he said that was sort of a novelty, and I said, I'm not ashamed of it.
And was he somebody that you could?
Oh yeah, he had written for Britney Spears. He had written for, I mean, he went through the whole litany of who he's written for. He's won Grammys. I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry, and I apologize to you because he was a wonderful speaker. Wonderful speaker.
Sometimes songs are the insight into a person's soul, and maybe that person is going through a trouble, and when that person starts writing things, it might help him or her put life in perspective and keep them from committing suicide.
I'm sure you felt this. I'm a big advocate that writing things down is one of the best ways to relieve all that's welling up inside of you, all the frustrations, the angers, the hurts, the anxieties. If you write, and you don't have to be a great author, you don't have to, be writing at a PhD level.
Yeah.
But if you write, you can really release so much that's inside of you. You can look at it.
And doesn't it finish the process when somebody reads it and gives you some feedback on that? Or doesn't that finish the process?
It does, as long as it's somebody you can trust and somebody that you really, really have faith in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's only you that needs to read it. But when you write it down and then reread what you've written, and because when you're writing, sometimes you're just writing.
This is a great, if you're in the doctor's office and this book was sitting there, I would pick this up and probably not go from front to back, but just kind of pick and choose and probably leave feeling something or other. We're almost out of time. This went too fast, Michael. Thank you for coming in here. It says here you are Jim George's friend, so thank you, Jim, for recommending Michael Cooper. You're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you.
Meandering Through the Verbal World. Do you have a way we can buy the book? Do you have a website?
No, it is on Amazon, though.
Go to Amazon and michaeljcooper.com?
Michael J. If you go to Amazon, Michael J. Cooper, Meandering Through the Verbal World, I will be there.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
That went way too fast. I wish we had more time. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in their latest debate getting in some swipes at their GOP rivals on CNN.
I don't intend to get in.